and welcome to another video. So I'm gonna try my best to go over my wrap up for the month of February. In the month of February, I read 7 books and I loved one. I really disliked one, and then the other ones were just okay reads. Maybe not my type, and that's why I didn't enjoy them very much, but I can see other people enjoying them, so I don't consider them like terrible books or anything. I'm going to try my best to kind of summarize what they're about and then let you know what I liked and didn't about each book, but I don't know how good I'm going to be at this, and I don't know how long I'm going to take, so I'm hoping I don't take too long. But let's start with the first book. That is Full Tilt by Neil Shusterman. It's the first of his books that I have ever read. It's about 2 brothers and a mysterious carnival. And like, one brother is super responsible and his name is Blake, and it's basically mostly about him. And then the other brother, I'm sorry, I'm still kind of sick. And the other brother's name is Quinn, and he's really reckless. And it's all about how Quinn ends up at the carnival, and Blake goes in there after him to save him. And this carnival is run by this like entity, and this entity really pushes Blake all throughout the carnival, and there is a time limit to this carnival that at a certain time you have to have ridden 7 rides and survived, and the rides each play on your fears, and that's kind of basically what the story is about. And what I liked was the protagonist. I really enjoyed him. I also liked the idea behind the story. What I didn't like were there were a lot of like plot holes and things that didn't make sense to me. And I'm still not sure how certain things worked out and why certain things happened to certain people and others didn't. I don't know. It was just really weird. And so I don't think he worked out really well, how this carnival was supposed to work. But the other thing I didn't like were the supporting characters. They weren't fleshed out. They were barely mentioned. And when they were mentioned, they didn't really do anything to the plot. And they didn't really help out. So you don't really get a lot of time with them, and it just felt like they were just thrown in there to have supporting characters. So I think they weren't even that necessary. But that's what I thought about this book. I still thought it was an okay book. I did enjoy it, even though there were things that I didn't. The next one is Will and Scarlet. I thought this was a retelling of Robin Hood, but it's not. It's about this kid named Will, who is heir to this castle. His dad is off fighting with Richard, and so John kind of wants all these lords to kneel to him, but like Will's castle and the people that work there, they don't want to. So there's this like big thing that happens, and then Will has to escape to save his life, and then he runs into the merry men in the forest. Robin is this like really broken man when he meets Will, and he's just part of the merry men. He's not actually Robin Hood. And then Will has all these ideas and things on how to reclaim his castle, and it's just how he bonds with Robin and kind of inspires him to later on become Robin Hood. So my thing with this is it's an easy read. It was really easy and all, but the protagonist, even though I thought he was a good protagonist, I felt like they rushed him from being this scared little boy to being this really courageous person, and I didn't really get to feel his growth throughout the story or anything, so I didn't really like that much, and it seemed a little bit boring to me. But again, I think it's an okay read. I don't think it's a bad book or anything. It just I didn't enjoy it as much as I guess other people would. I can see other people enjoying it though. Next book is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Oh, and this is by Matthew Cody. Sorry, I'm really bad at this. So The Haunting of Hill House is about a group of people that are invited by this researcher to go live in this haunted house to see if the haunted house is actually haunted. So it's 2 women, the researcher, and a guy who is like the one who's going to inherit this house. So it's basically you getting to know these characters throughout like most of this book, and then like more than halfway through, then you start seeing kind of creepy things happening and stuff. I personally didn't like the characters, so it didn't make the book that fun. I also didn't find it too creepy or scary, which is good for me because I don't really like horrors, but I wanted to try a horror one, and this just wasn't it. And the main character, because I'm going to call her the main character, even though it's about 4 people, because they focus mostly on her. I really didn't like her. She kind of annoyed me. And so it was an okay read. I found out it's a Netflix series, so I do want to see that and see what they did with it, because I think they probably did better with it than the story did. So it was just an okay read, but I personally didn't enjoy it. But I could see other people enjoying it. Next one is Suitors and Sabotage. This is like a contemporary romance in the style of Jane Austen books. So if you like Jane Austen books, you most likely will like this. It's the only book that I've ever read that I liked of hers, like really, really loved, was Pride and Prejudice. All the others, I've liked the movies based off of the books, but not the books themselves. So even though I love her writing, I think she's a great writer, they're just not my genre of books maybe, or my style of reading. But this is about a girl, or a lady, a young lady, who her parents want her to marry off this guy who arrives to court her. He arrives with his brother, who ends up being a love interest for the girl. And the girl also has a best friend who also falls for the brother. So both the girls are falling for the brother, but not for the guy that came to court. And both guys are really nice guys. Both girls are really nice girls. So it's kind of like a square kind of love kind of thing. I didn't really enjoy the story. It was kind of boring to me. Also, the characters weren't my favorite. So I'm very character based. I found out from my reading style that I am very character based. And if I really love a character, I'm going to love the story, even if it's a little slow or boring. More than if the story is like just amazing and everything, but I don't like the characters. So I think that's where the problem came for me here. But I can see people really loving this book. I'm not a contemporary reader either, so very few contemporaries I've enjoyed. So there's that too. But the cover is beautiful. Next book that I read is actually a sequel, and it is the sequel of Wolf by Wolf. This is Blood for Blood. So the first book is basically about Jael. That's how I pronounce it. I don't know how you pronounce her name. And it's a world in which Hitler had won the war. And there's just this one time period when there's this big race and people from all different parts of the world come and race here. And it's the only time Hitler has shown himself in the past. And so Jael, she is a survivor of the Holocaust. They did experiments on her where it allows her to shapeshift, and she was able to escape that way. And she joins a rebellion. And they've been training her for this race for a really long time. And the idea is that she's going to take the place of a past winner named Adele. And so she has to learn everything she can about Adele and take her place on the race. Because Adele is the only one that's ever been close to Hitler. He actually invited her as the victory winner to dance with him. So they think if Jael wins this race, he will again ask her to dance with him, and she'll have a clear shot at killing Hitler. And it's pretty much just her adventure throughout the race and her meeting certain characters. One of them is Adele's brother. I forget his name. Oh my gosh. And the other one is Adele's love interest. So she has to take on this person's life, kind of, and figure out what her relationship was with both her brother and her ex-boyfriend. And yeah, it's basically that. The first book was pretty fast-paced for me. I kind of liked it. It was slow enough that you get to know Jael really good. You don't know the supporting characters, the 2 guys, that well. But I enjoyed it, I think, more than I enjoyed this one. I can't talk too much about it, but I will say that I've liked that the supporting characters are fleshed out a lot more here. You get to know more about them, so that's really nice. And there is a conclusion in here, so that's good. What else? I found lots of parts in here really boring, and so I was forcing myself to read it, and it's basically because I really like Jael, so I just forced myself to read the book, mostly because of the protagonist. But yeah, this one was a little bit slower for me than the other one, and yeah, but you know, it was okay. It was okay. I think the duology is okay as a whole. Next book is a reread, and I love this book so much. It's called When Friendship Followed Me Home, and look at this cover. I'm sorry, but this is like one of my favorite covers. It was the only reason I kept it, but I'm glad I was able to reread it because I had forgotten a lot of things. So this book is about a little boy. He's an adopted kid, and his mother recently passes away, and he ends up having to live with his aunt, who he barely knows, and the aunt and him have a very awkward relationship where they don't really know how to get along. And during this whole transition for him, he meets this quirky girl and they become friends. At the same time, he has this really scruffy dog he comes across, and he just loves this dog, and this dog is really sweet and cute, and I just loved him in the story as well as the quirky girl. And I liked all the characters and all the supporting characters, and I especially liked the main character, which is the boy. What's his name again? I forget what his name is. Ben. His name is Ben. And so you just follow Ben around and see how things developed. And it's very Fault in Our Stars, bittersweet ending. So I loved this story. It made me cry, it made me laugh, it made me smile. And it's just a really touching, beautiful story. I really recommend it. I loved it so much. And yeah, this was the one that I really loved this month. So it was nice to reread it, and I'm happy I did, because otherwise it would have just been a mediocre reading month for me, because the books I read I didn't really love. And then the one that I really hated, I mean hated with a passion, is Danzel. And this is by, I forgot to say the authors again, by Elena K. Arnold. This one actually has a signed booklet too, but I felt uncomfortable during this whole book. So it's about a prince saving a damsel from a dragon, and that's how it starts. And I liked the beginning because I thought, oh, cool fairy tale, I'm sure there'll be a twist in there somewhere, but it's going to be a really interesting story, and I'm going to like it. And once the girl wakes up, her memories are he rescues her, she wakes up, she has no memories of who she is or anything. I found it very predictable at that point. I kind of figured things out right away. I just knew. But I wanted to find out how a certain thing happened. So I kept reading just for that reason, because throughout this book, the prince is very possessive, very possessive, and just really not likable at all. The girl has no personality whatsoever. I disliked this book so much. And then when I got to the ending, again, I was uncomfortable the whole time I was reading this. But when I got to the ending and found out what I needed to find out, it was so disgusting for me. I just really, really didn't like it at all. So that was just me, but I can't recommend this. It was just, for me personally, I just didn't like it. It's not my type of book. But that's it for my video. Oh my gosh, it was 13 minutes. I'm so sorry, guys. I tried my best to go really fast and go through them, and I hope I did an okay job without spoiling anything, without giving out too many spoilers. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for more soon. I'll see you guys later. Bye.